Quick disclaimer, if I seem low energy in this video, I'm trying to be not so low energy. I've just got back from Vegas like yesterday. I'm still jet lagged and my throat's a bit sore from just 2 conventions in a row. I had Birmingham before that as well. I enjoyed myself immensely. I know it's first world problems that I get to talk about my favourite card game to an audience after going to one of the conventions. I get it. I'm just a bit jet lagged, so bear with me. On that note...
After 10,000 years I'm free! It's time to conquer Earth!
Holy shit! They only went and fucking did it. We knew Hogak was going. Faithless Looting was a hot topic. But people didn't really think Stoneforge Mystic was coming off the ban list, right? I've been campaigning, and I use the word campaigning loosely, for Stoneforge Mystic to be unbanned for quite some time now. For those of you that didn't see it, I did a video about a month ago. It's like 27 days before this video being recorded here, where I talked about the reasons that Stoneforge Mystic was banned in Modern. And in all fairness, there just isn't any reason for it. Some people even called the video clickbaity, but the whole point was I was putting forward a sort of hypothesis as to why it was banned, which actually then proved that there was no hypothesis for why it's banned. It shouldn't have been banned. So I'm right, you're wrong. So I mean, I don't want to say I told you so, but I did fucking tell you so. And some of the people in the comment section were like, it's just too good. Wizards will never unban it. And well, fuck you too, buddy. And I don't want to say I'm solely responsible for the unbanning of Stoneforge Mystic. I mean, someone's got to write the article, right? Like, Ian Duke is the one that put the article up, so thank you, Ian. And someone's got to click the button to make it legal on Modo. But apart from that, I will take all the credit. All 100% of the credit. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the bans and unbannings. Now, I'm mainly going to talk about Stoneforge Mystic, so I'm going to quickly go over the other stuff that happened. Your boy, Rampaging Ferocidon, is now legal for what, a month and a half? He's going to make those Scapeshift players stop making silly amounts of zombies in your end step. I think it's mad that this card had been banned for so long anyway. Perhaps when Hazaret went, they could have let the Ferocidon out of the cage. I believe it's still banned in best of 1. Someone told me I didn't actually read too much about that, so I could be wrong, and now I'm saying it in a YouTube video. Am I insane? But the dinosaur is the first card to be unbanned in Standard ever. That's right, Ferocidon is the first card to ever be unbanned in Standard, the only card. It's on a list of cards where it is the only thing on that list. I think that's kind of hilarious for a 3-drop red creature that hates on life gain and creatures in the battlefield, but, you know, whatever. Legacy's going through a weird space right now where people believe that Renin 6 might be the new Deathrite Shaman in terms of the fact that it's making the mana bases too good, and people are just playing 4-color nonsense, but Legacy had no bans or unbans. I think Legacy is very good at sort of having a meta game that adjusts to itself, so I'm not too quick myself to be like, oh my god, there's a problem here, because it means that things can be fixed over time by decks adjusting, and other things coming to the forefront. Maybe Blood Moon is the place to be right now to punish the Renin 6 decks, for example. So no change in Legacy, but we have change in Vintage. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't played Vintage since, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. For those of you who don't know, there's something to understand about Vintage, is that there isn't really a banned list. Anti-cards and dexterity cards, cards that have mechanics that aren't part of Magic anymore, are banned, so Chaos Orb and Contract from Below and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, any card that doesn't have those sort of things on them are legal, but they may be restricted to only one of in your deck. When a card is restricted, it's normally incredibly powerful and warping to the format. We're talking about Black Lotus, Ancestral Recalls, but now we're also talking about Mental Misstep and Mystic Forge. I think there's something deeply poetic about the fact that the banned announcement of Stoneforge Mystic comes off the banned list for Modern. We have Mystic Forge, which is kind of in a way a reference to the mechanics or the flavour within the Magic world and canon, is then restricted in Vintage. There's a history now of them restricting things that play very, very well with Mishra's Workshop and not restricting the card itself. The Workshop is kind of like the brainstorm of Vintage. It's a pillar of the format. An entire deck, the Stacks Prison artifact deck, is called Shops after Mishra's Workshops. The cards are like, I haven't looked this up, but they're upwards of £1,000, £1,500, £2,000 each. I'm going to look it up right now, actually. Okay, I was slightly off. They're about $2,000 each. So if you want to play a Shops deck, your mana base with 4 of these bad boys starts at around $8,000. So there's this problem where we just don't want to restrict them for multiple reasons, I guess. One, it's a bit of a feel bad if you've got these cards knocking about and you now can't use 3 of the fucking things. But also, it being a pillar of the format, the deck that makes the format try and play fair, and is able to hate on the combo decks. There's an argument for keeping it around for that reason. What happens is things like Mystic Forge get restricted. A 4-mana artifact, which is relatively fair at 4 mana, but when you're playing it on turn 1, it's no longer fair. Especially when your deck is predominantly artifacts and those artifacts produce mana. You can have ludicrous turns thanks to this ridiculous artifact. For those of you not in the know as well, this card is making waves in Legacy in one of the sort of fringe decks that's now become one of the prominent and powerful decks in mono white Bomberman. Mystic Forge is gas there too. Mystic Forge is a very good card. If you can get foils on the cheap now, pick them up now, because this card's going to be in archetypes in Modern and Legacy in the future. Modern doesn't really have a deck for it just yet, perhaps Affinity, but if it doesn't now, it fucking will do in the future. This card is legit. They also hurt Dredge, one of the other pillars of the format, by restricting Golgari Grave Troll, another card's been problematic across multiple formats in the past. I haven't really seen many people moaning about this on the social spheres like Twitter, so perhaps people were kind of expecting Dredge to take a hit. Don't forget the London Milligan has made decks like Dredge and shops better for being able to find their workshops and the bazaars of Baghdad. So yeah, perhaps these decks do need to take a hit. Khan has been restricted because the non-parallel effect means that other people's moxes don't work, and that's completely fair. Khan the Great Kriya, it's a bit of a mistake. Mental Misstep has been restricted, which is a weird one because although it being omnipresent in the format is kind of frustrating, it did help to stop a lot of nonsense. And on the topic of nonsense, they've now unrestricted Fast Bond. So you can play as many lands as you want, get a Corsair of Crofix into play on Oracle of Modiah or Ramonok Excavator with a fetch land in your bin, and you can go wild with playing lands in the format. This is actually something that's made me want to go back and make a vintage video, because I haven't made one in like years, and even then not only streaming it. Fast Bond is notoriously a problematic card banned in other formats and pointed in the Highlander formats, whether or not it's even good enough to confront or face the nonsense in vintage right now. Who knows? Only time will tell. And now we come to the main event! The thing you probably clicked this video for and you're thinking, Vince, you just spent like fucking 5 minutes talking about vintage. I'm sorry, fuck you, buddy. Stoneforge Mystic was unbanned because of PleasantKenobi being such a handsome man. That's kind of half rhyme there, wasn't it? Like I said, I've been responsible for Stoneforge Mystic being unbanned. I know, it's a hard life having godlike powers like this. We all knew Hogak was going. I spoke to about 3 people over the course of Birmingham and Vegas who believed the card wouldn't be banned, and quite frankly I thought those people were absolutely insane. Faithless Looting was the one that no one was quite sure on. The card evidently oppresses the format in a way of making all these decks like Phoenix and Hogak and other similar decks that rely on their graveyard fast and able to basically race to the finish without giving too much of a shit about what your opponent's doing, especially in game 1. I made the argument in my Stoneforge video that if Stoneforge Mystic and Birthing Pod restrict the design space of equipments and creatures, then it's easy to argue that Faithless Looting is an enabler that restricts the design space of future cards that synergize with the graveyard or enable graveyard strategies, or are just graveyard enabled like the Gak. Now the Gak has been banned because he is just too pushed. The Trample, being able to cast from 2 different zones, the Delve, even the Convoke makes him pretty good, and then being an 8/8 as well, meaning he dodges a lot of removal like Fatal Push and can't be chumped because of the Trample and yada yada yada. There was no argument about it. Hogak, if not banned now, if Faithless Looting was banned instead, Hogak will be too good later down the line, or just still too good anyway. But looting going is a weird one and a bit of a scary one if I'm completely frank with you. I was in the ban looting camp for a while anyway, but the problem is we banned looting and we unbanned Stoneforge Mystic, which I'm going to talk to in more detail in a moment, but like we haven't banned Opal or Ancient Stories. I don't think those cards are bannable on their own, but we have this thing where we've just neutered Dredge, just neutered Arclight Phoenix, we've arguably neutered the Prowess deck, but now we've got these cards that are still supporting things like Affinity, whether it be traditional or hardened scales, or Tron. Tron didn't get hit in any way, shape or form. Is Tron the place to be now? Because a turn 3 card is pretty good into turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic into turn 3 Battle Skull, as I mentioned in my last video. Is Tron the place to be? Is Mono Red Tron the best combo deck in Modern again? Disclaimer, it never really was the best combo deck in Modern. Don't build it with the hope of winning. Build it with the hope of having fun. So kids, looting is gone, which means that some decks will get weaker or be unplayable, arguably. I mean, I'm not quite sure how a deck like Phoenix can realistically put Phoenixes in the bin now in a consistent way that makes the deck be any good. It might have actually just killed off that deck. I could be wrong, but I can't see it doing much for a while until people work out new tech or we get a new card that helps. What if we put Buried Alive in the next Modern Horizons set? No, but honestly, would that be too good? Would Buried Alive be too good for Modern? I want to know if you think that down in the comment section below. Would Buried Alive make a reanimated deck too good? Would it make just Phoenix a playable deck again in a sort of combo style that's disruptible off of 1 counter spell as opposed to multiple? Yeah, let me know what you think. I think Dredge is going to have a field day for a little while. I think people are going to be cutting their sideboard hate against the deck and all just graveyard decks in general. Now Faithless Looting is gone, Hogak is gone, and then Dredge is going to play like the Neonate and just wreck people out of nowhere. So don't forego your Graveyard Hate. I mean, in the case of Green, White, Death and Taxes that I'm going to be playing this week, I'm probably going to move my Scoozers to the side, but I'm still going to have like 2 Scoozers and 2 Rips, or similar composition to allow myself to fight the Graveyard decks that are going to be around. Don't believe the hype, kids. The idea that Dredge is dead is grossly exaggerated. And then we come to Stoneforge Mystic. Now, people are going to jam this in every fucking deck going, right? Stoneforge Mystic is a gas card, it's powerful, it's fun to play with, but in my last video I did make out quite clearly that I don't think the card's actually that good in Modern. I'm going to play with it. In certain metagames, it may well be good too, but the problem being that it is destructible with things like Color Goods commands, Night of Autumns, Fatal Pushes, Hand Disruption. There's a lot of toys that have been printed since the invention of the core deck in Standard, the core blade deck in Standard, that makes Stoneforge Mystic not the oppressive force that it might once have been in Modern. The interesting thing is whether the format slows down enough to allow things like Stoneforge Mystic and Jace to be more impactful when Faithless Looting is gone, or whether we're just going to get Trond on turn 3, or Dredge is going to be able to still be pretty fair, and we're going to be like, shit, Modern isn't fixed. My first point of interest with the whole Stoneforge Mystic and where do we play it thing, I've got 2 things I really want to talk about here. First, let's talk about Death and Taxes. Now, people have been thinking that Death and Taxes with like Leonardo and Thalia has been a deck that needed Stoneforge Mystic to compete in Modern, and A, I think it's been a competing deck in certain metagames anyway, and B, I don't think Stoneforge Mystic makes the deck better. I think the existence of Stoneforge Mystic in Modern might make the deck worse. We as a deck will struggle to fight through a 4/4 vigilant lifelinking creature, much like a lot of other creature-based aggro decks like your Zoo style decks and burn decks will struggle with. We will also have things like Swords of Light and Shadow and Swords of Fire and Ice, either getting through our dudes and dudettes, or just killing our dudes and dudettes, and us feeling real bad about it. Of course we can play our own, but then the problem comes up that I think Arbiter plus a fetch effect is going to make your deck inconsistent, and it's going to make you fold to yourself half the time. And you're playing like synergistic based creature decks like this, sometimes your Death and Taxes deck will fold to itself anyway because you've only drawn a bunch of bears that don't do anything in that matchup. So I'm not a fan of playing fetch lands alongside Arbiter in case you just screw yourself out of the game anyway. I'm not a big fan of playing Stoneforge plus Arbiter. Now, I'm not against the idea of trying it. I'm going to be trying it. I'm going to make a video on it this week. Sometimes you can just file in your Stoneforge with the Arbiter and play and pay for the search effect. Sometimes you can just pay 4 mana for it. I am very much one of the advocates of playing 3 and 4 drop spells sometimes in your Thalia decks and saying to people when they go, well, that doesn't play well with Thalia. Well, Legacy Death and Taxes has proven that sometimes you can cast 3 and 4 mana sideboard spells, Gideons, Cataclysms, or even your own swords with a Thalia in play and still get there. Thalia doesn't say you shouldn't play non-creature spells, it just means that you should be careful about the non-creature spells that you play. So perhaps there's the same argument for Arbiter, but with Arbiter, in the same way that you can't play a 4 mana spell with only 4 mana in play with a Thalia in play, sometimes you just can't play your Stoneforge Mystic with an Arbiter in play. The reason I'm not for this idea of cutting Arbiter or moving to Aven Mind Sensor instead and playing Stoneforge Mystic alongside that is because without Arbiter, some of our best matchups get worse again. Like Gifts and Given Storm, Arbiter is one of our best toys. Tron, if their maps don't work and their Sylvan Scryings don't work, we can actually get into positions where we're denying them mana and kill them before they ever get near a Karn or a Ugin. Once you stop doing that, once you start giving them the chance to hit things with Aven, or doing it a turn later because of Aven, you're just going to lose to these decks that you had a positive matchup against before. And then there's Scapeshift, right? Our deck should have a favourable matchup against Scapeshift because we are search hating. That is the main reason we can beat them, and that's why they have to play Wraths and things to get around these creatures like this and Thalias and such. If you remove the search hate, you're just playing a shit mid-range white deck. Let's be real. That said, let's talk about some of the ways that I'm going to try and play Stoneforge alongside Arbiter. You want to maximize the mana available to you so you can, in a pinch, pay the 4 mana, or just pay the 2 after Ghost Quartering them off of Stoneforge off a vial. For that reason, I'm going to play green, white, and taxes. No one's surprised. I know. Don't say in the comment section below, but you always play green, white. That's because playing green gives you your things like your Noble Hierarchs and or your birds, which gives you the mana to be able to do things like this. Also allows you to play Gavany Township, and it might be that Feast and Famine's one of the better swords if Junder's around a lot, and when you hit them and untap your lands and then get the Gavany in their end step because of it, you're going to be loving life. Trust me. Also, if we've got green white, we have access to Night of Autumn, which means we can blow up other people's swords. The other thing that no one has mentioned on Twitter or across social media that I've looked at, I haven't really been looking at Reddit while I've been in Vegas, but no one's talking about Manriki Gisari. If Stoneforge is a thing in Modern now, Manriki Gisari is how you win those mirrors. Okay, so get your Manriki Gisari, shoot it up, blow up the Batterskull, the Sword of X and Y, and love life. Also, if you are managing to play like green, white, and taxes alongside Stoneforge, we then have the option of using Flicker Wisp to reset our Stoneforge to then go find our actual good toy that kills them as opposed to just their equipments. Flicker Wisp and Stoneforge have always been real good. Flicker Wisp and Batterskull have always been real good. It's just a shame that we don't have a decent Mandanar in Modern. We have Wasteland, so we have to still play our Arbiters. Without Arbiters, our search rate, and our mana denial plan is just terrible. Don't not play Arbiters, is what I'm saying. I might change my opinion on that in the next like week or two once I've actually played the deck, but we'll see. And the last point about Stoneforge Mystic that I wanted to say is that I don't think just slamming into your blue-white control deck is a good idea. Stoneforge itself obviously finds the equipment and gets equipped, but then it dies, right? Then what do you do? You're not going to have the mana to equip your colonnade for a good, like, I don't know, 10 turns. You have, like, a couple of snappies, maybe, in one click, sure. But I think if you want to play a deck that plays equipments, you have to play creatures. That's Stoneforge Mystic, snappies, and cliques, but also, like, Spell Quellers or Geist of Saint Draft. I generally think a blue, white, red tempo deck, a just go Blade deck that's playing Geist, is going to be gas. Don't forget, some decks, game 1 plans against your equipment is to kill the creature when you go to equip. And if you haven't noticed, Geist of Saint Draft is very, very good at saying, no fam.
You have no power here.
Ultimately, this ban of restricted announcement is incredibly exciting, and I'm so happy that Wizards have took the chances that they have. One of the videos I was going to make before I never got around to making it before going to Birmingham and Vegas was that a video about whether Hogak was an irresponsible printing. It was evidently a mistake, but I wanted to focus on whether it was irresponsible. And I don't think it was irresponsible. I don't like the idea that they're being irresponsible by printing things like that. I like Wizards to take chances. I like them. I mean, I was against it at the time, but I like the idea of unbanning Jason and Bloodbraid or Stoneforge Mystic or printing things like Hogak and Urza. If they have to fix them further down the line, that's feel bad for some people, or it damages the format for a little while, then that's okay. If it means that we don't get stale, dull sets with no new cards for eternal formats. There was a period, like, up until around Amonkhet Ixalan, where people kept saying, like, they aren't printing enough cards that affect older formats. And don't forget the meme that Modern Horizons was Commander Horizons, which was complete shit. I really, really like the fact that we are getting cards pushed into older formats. Some of them are mistakes. I think Khan the Great Creator was definitely a mistake. I think the whole War of the Spark Planeswalker thing with static abilities was fine, but having them only affect your opponent and not yourself was the way they kind of messed that up. But I kind of want them to make mistakes and fix them and keep pushing Magic to be interesting in all formats. So no, I don't think Hogak was irresponsible, but it was a mistake. This ban restricted announcement is so exciting that it's got people brewing, talking about Modern again, wanting to play Modern. Maybe things will go wrong. Maybe it'll turn out Stoneforge Mystic is impressive in a slower format. I'm more than willing to admit if I'm wrong if that happens. But ultimately, I'm glad we get to experiment and try it. Right? One last point before we sign off, actually. It's funny that Wizards can't really fucking win, right? When they printed J shortly before A25, they were accused, myself included, kind of jokingly but half serious, that it was a way to shift product and sell boxes and packs. And there's nothing wrong with shifting product and selling packs, right? So as much as people were like, oh, that's kind of fickle and suspect, it's like, well, actually, let them sell their product, right? We need good face cards for sets to sell. Now that Stoneforge has been unbound without that happening, which then proves perhaps they aren't just doing that all the time, people are now like, holy shit, this card is how much money? And the swords will start to go up, and the battle styles will start to go up, and maybe Memory Kasari might start to go up and people realize it's a good card. What I'm saying is Wizards can't win. They can unban a card and put it in the next set to keep the price down, and people are like, bastards! And they can unban a card and not put it in the next set, and people are like, bastards! Just cut them some fucking slack is what I'm saying. I'm also quite critical sometimes when I think things aren't going well or things are going wrong, but sometimes it just makes me laugh to see the literal flip-flop between two opposing positions, and Wizards just in the middle being like, well, what the fuck? How do I... I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet, and I'll often film some Modern with Stoneforge Mystic, so look out for some slow plays and hopefully a quick, tight, edited, sexy play later in the week as well. If I met you at Birmingham or Vegas, I just want to say thank you so much for making both experiences so fucking special. I've always loved GPs and Magic Fest, but I love them even more now that I get to see the community come out in force to be so positive and just fucking awesome. So thank you so much. I'll have more mailbag coming soon. I'll have some Commander content coming soon, more EDH and chill, hopefully some more Magic the Colouring. I've got loads of plans over the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, stay safe, be good to one another, and look out for some Stoneforge Mystic and Modern content from your boy, you're the one and only Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. Ta-ta for now.